Yeah. So we even said a little more than that. We said that I think we spoke about it last week, correct? We ended up saying, why does he have to cover his face? We mentioned it. He has to cover his face. They're afraid to come near him. We said that afraid to come near him plays into the idea, right? I think those are the words in chapter. Yeah, you said it. Right? Those are the words, right? In chapter, at the end of Ikisa, the last words before Vayikra are, V'acharichen, Vayar Haron, Moshe v'nei panav v'yir'u migeshet elav. Right? They're afraid to come near him. And all of this is a 5-second review. Said is afraid. What do you mean afraid to come near him? It's like when somebody says things that are difficult for you to absorb, and you're afraid to go near it. It makes you feel uncomfortable. The fear doesn't mean they're scared out of their wits. They're afraid to come near him because the message that they're seeing in Karon, when they see his face, means when they see the message in its bold and clear, it's one that they're not.
They're also afraid of coming near the mountain. No, isn't it?
Yeah, you brought that up. Yeah. But over here, I'm talking over here now. Now he I don't think it means not worthy. I think that he sees that he could only tell them certain things, give them certain commandments, give them certain laws, let's say, for example, and then he's got to cover up because they can't cope with the message. We said something like this last week. I could tell you stories. I could tell you ideas, concepts, stories, whatever it may be, but I can't tell you what's the deeper message that's going on. Let's say it that way. The message with all of its clarity is too much for them to cope with. Therefore, they're not prepared or not yet ready. And that message that it doesn't tell you he stays that way for the rest of his life.
Will the Mishkan bring them up to that level? Is that
I'm going to talk about it in a minute. I'm going to segue into this in a minute.
He has to veil the message.
He has to veil the message, and that's how you're left. You are left with Moshe's. Right. You are left with Moshe's message being veiled. Period. There's aside from the words that are used in over here when he says very clearly what he does. He says, "Vayikra Moshe." The Yashubu Elav, he calls them. He says, come here. Right? Yashubu Elav, Aharon, v'chol ha'nesim ba'edah. That's Aharon and all the Nesim, v'deber alim. V'harechen, nigishu kol b'nei Yisrael. V'etzavim, v'kol Hashem deber Adonai, ito b'hashanai. Then he commands them. Now, that v'etzavim thing, does it means he tells them certain things. Think of it like I said, think of that. He tells them, these are the laws. This is what you have to do, or whatever it may be. I don't want to answer more than that now. But what I want to say is when he finishes speaking to them, he puts on the mesveh, meaning he has to call them, he has to tell them this X, but more than X, he can't say, right? After that, he's got to cover up. He's got to cover up. And that's the way it stays for good, right? The last words are, V'heshiv Moshe et Moshe panav ad bo'or ledaber ito, until he comes to talk. Now, then you have Shabbat, you have that envelope, and you go into the Mishkan, and book 2 ends on, let's go to Pikodeh's last words. He puts all the items, all the furnishings in the right. I'm reading the later one. And then the Hatzer, and then Vaykas Hanan et Oil Moed, and then Kibod Adonai Maleh et HaMishkan. God's glory fills it. And ולא יכול משה לבוא אל אוהל מועד כי ישכן עליו הענן. He can't go because God's presence is in the form of the anan. Is there? It's repeating the last words of verse 34 in the last words of 35, right? I'll repeat. ויקח הענן את אוהל מועד וכבוד מים עליה את המשכן. ולא יכול משה לבוא אל אוהל מועד, כי שכן עליו הענן וכבוד מים עליה את המשכן. Right? That's why he can't go in. ובהעלות הענן מעל המשכן, ייסעו בני ישראל בכל מעשיהם. So the הענן goes up, they travel. ואם לא יעלה הענן, לא ייסעו until the day העלותו. Right? It's an interesting thing, the way to say it again. Again, there's a similar term. No, with him. It says, no, I'm talking about the opening words. Then, why? Now it's going to do it again. So it's like saying, you just said it. So you say, but if it does, it can, if it can't, etc.
Very weird.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Straight. And then,
Doesn't even answer. It's
no,
he can't go in, so he never goes in.
no.
Thing goes up, so
No,
he starts moving.
No.
I guess he never goes in.
But Vayikra opens up with him being called.
I
He
get
has
it.
to be called in.
I'm saying.
So,
Yeah.
but it's like.
Wait a second. Not just that, but if they're stagnant, they're staying, the Anan is there, means he can't go in.
Right.
Unless he's called.
Unless he's called.
Unless he's called.
Unless he's called. Which he's called. Vayikra el Moshe, the opening
He's
verse.
stationary.
Vayikra el Moshe, and he calls him, come on in. And the Baal Ben Yisrael, and then he tells him, right? Then he has the Nibu'ah.
How
Now-
does this coincide with Moshe being able to speak Hashem? You know,
No, last
that-
week, different. I can't answer that question right now.
It's a whole new book.
But yeah,
I'm just.
it's a good. How does it work? It's only telling you in this state quickly. When he's in there, he's speaking panim mil panim.
Oh,
that's what
when
you're-
he's speaking.
Right now, that's going to be a panim mil
When he
panim.
speaks them,
That's
when
right.
he's called.
Yeah,
What is the purpose of telling me at the end of here that he couldn't go in and he couldn't do anything?
one second. I'm trying to.
Okay.
This is a review.
Okay.
This is a review.
Touch this thing, but we only touched upon this.
That we.
Yeah.
I'd like to spend a lot of time on it tonight. I can't because I have other things that I want to do that are more important for right this minute. When I say what I'm about to say, it'll answer a lot of your questions. In all their travels. Those words give you a sense of, you know how they travel? Sometimes they go to a place they stay for a long time. Sometimes stay for a little while. Well, sometimes they stay for a day. Sometimes for 100 years. Sometimes right in the last 2,000 years. When do you go? You go when God when that's right. They're traveling in accordance with how God is leading them. I don't want to get carried away with this now. And we're going to ask 100 questions. Was there really a cloud? Was there really a pillar of fire? No, not. Everybody in this room knows it doesn't mean there was actually a pillar of fire. In this room, everybody in this room knows that there was no cloud that they were looking at. It's an allegory, right? It means something else. So they are following that, but that's leading them. Whatever, not going into the details, it's telling you when you travel with God's leadership. The Anan and the Ash, we'll sit here and talk about why one is called Ash in the nighttime and Anan in the daytime and so on and so forth. Not for now. Remember, clouds cover things up. You don't see what's going on. And remember that fire lights, it's dark at night, but it gives you you follow the light. Yeah.
You understand, it's there. If a cloud at night has no value.
Right. Well, there's no cloud. It's cloudy. Right. Okay. Now, it's a very, what you'd call, God is with you and everything is good. And the Mishkan is there And you don't, there's nothing, there's sort of a, God is traveling with you through this and leading you, and sometimes they stay.
It
It
worked.
stays.
But if that worked.
It worked. It's
It
good. Everything is fine at this ending point. Vayikra opens up with 7 chapters of sacrifice, with all what you call a very descriptive scene of what sacrifice is like: the blood, the guts, the entrails, the manure, the things, the fire is burning, and was pleasing to God. What I want to talk about today is how I understood it through the years. That I never understood on the surface, I understood it this way. You know what the 7 chapters are. I'll remind you. Olam and Ha, Shelamim, Hatat, and Hashem. The Olam and the Ha and the Shelamim are voluntary. Everything is voluntary. Hatat and Hashem even is, because it's for a shogeg. It's not, you got to bring it when you do a shogeg. And the example I use for that is you own a Lexus and now you made a mistake. So you go to the guy and tell him, give me your Lexus, give it to the temple, and everything is better. He goes, I made a mistake. I'm not giving you my Lexus because I made a mistake. It's a $50,000 car. Depends what Lexus you own. I'm not giving you that to you because I made a mistake. People would go to bring sacrifices because they have guilt and problems and this, and they did things on, and they want to get expiation. They want to clear their guilt. They want to clear themselves. You go to the guy now and tell him, oh, that has no sacrifice at all. There's nothing you can do for that. You can give me, you can't even give me a Lexus. So what should I give it to you for? When you made a mistake. I made a mistake? Who the heck cares if I made a mistake? I'm not interested. Give me the pass. That's how you get rid of sacrifice. You set up a structure that tells the guy, you never get rid of mizid. There's only one mizid you get rid of. When you promise to give, they'll let you didn't pay the guy back. You made you swore. Now we'll let you, even though you did it we'll let you did it on purpose because we want the guy to get his money.
With penalty.
So since we want the guy to get his money, we'll let you get kapara if you make up for it and you pay him back. But that's on purpose.
That's
Yeah,
not a sacrifice.
that's right. We'll let you do that because for that guy, we got the guy his money back. The number one thing is get the guy his money back. Other than that, all of the laws of Hatat and Hashem are for shogeg. There is no mizid. So therefore, there are 2 categories in this. Olam and Han Shelamim. Olam is you burn up the animal in totality. The Minha is you have different categories of it, but it's flour, right? And Shelamim is like not a todah, but similar. The way you think of that feels good, and so on and so forth.
It's now for other people to acknowledge also with you.
That's correct. The Hatat and Hashem is like it says, it's a sin offering and a guilt offering, right? But remember, it's
Sure.
so when you write 7 chapters like that, there's 2 things that it does. Number one, Ezra, if you made a mistake and you're a sacrificing guy, you interested in giving up your car when you made a mistake?
Not really.
Not exactly. So already you're getting a lot of people not interested. They're not interested. I'm not bringing you that because I did that in their minds. They're not telling the priest that, but they're not interested in it. There's another thing. They think that when it says Re'ah Nihoah, and it's a pleasant aroma to God, that's because it's barbecue. And everybody loves a barbecue. So you make your number 1 offering is barbecue, which, by the way, just because it's Pesach coming in a couple of days, I said my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving because it's a todah and everybody gets together. Pesach is a super todah. It's nice in America because everybody in America is saying thank you. The Pesach is a super todah. And what is the main thing of the day? You make a barbecue. Remember, that's what they did. But right? You take the seah, and you make a barbecue. It was in your house, and if you and could be, Ralphie told me they went and bought in Peninsula, and they went and bought a quarter of a lamb. I says, "Is that a lot of meat?" He goes, a lot of meat, just a quarter of it. So if you take an entire lamb and you slaughter it, when it says in the Torah, "V'im yamat habayit miyot miseh," v'lakahu shkenu hakarov el b'zor b'nefsad mishol ish l'fei ochlot hakos v'laseh," if you have too much, because even if your family's as big as his, even
But Ralphie's
Ezra,
family bigger than mine.
wait, so he said his too, but he says it's a lot.
Mhm.
They're gonna really stuff themselves, right?
Every lamb is a block party.
But if it was a full lamb, you get it. That's what I said. If you had a full lamb, you got to order it. You got to have your neighbors. You got to have quite a lot of people, because you that's it. You're gonna eat it tonight. You're done. You got to finish. Yeah. So it's a barbecue. Now, so therefore they make the barbecue and it goes up, and you really fed God everything. It goes up in ashes. You're left with ashes. So that imagery does something to a reader. Just everything I'm telling you is my opinion. It does something to the reader. You know what it does? They thought that when sacrifices are done, magic happens. You're interacting with the God. And when you don't know what the thing is and the details about it, and you don't have it like in its raw reality of what it is, you think it's doing something amazing. But then when you know what it is, you fall out, because what happened to the magic? I'll give you the best example of that. Not the best, but a good example. I used to love the book Hobot Elevabot when I was a teenager, and when I went out. In fact, when I went out with Linda, I used to take it with me. She reminded me in the biography, and used to learn it with her. Right? Ralphie today told me the funniest thing, because he was saying it to Joey about this point, because we're on this subject. So he says, "You know what Linda says in the thing?" He asked me, "What do you think of this?" Mommy's telling in the biography on the podcast. So she goes, I told him, "What do I think? What the heck do I know?" She goes, "I don't know." And she said, "I was 16. He's asking me what I think of it." And we were cracking up laughing. So in any event, in Rabbi Sassoon tells me, "Really?" He goes, "Through all of my youth, right? That was my favorite book that I ever read." So I was so proud, because, so I loved it. And he told me, "You see, by reading Chobot Labud, he's a very holy person. You see the quality, it comes out of the text. He's an extraordinary individual. You could sense it, right? Very nice." His name was Bahya ibn Pekuda. So he wrote it with 10 shadim, like 10 treatises. That's 10 whatever you want to call them. The first one proves God's existence. They used to say, "Oh, you can't learn that treatise. It's like going into Pardes. It's like going into the, into the deep mystical things." Today's time, if you give it to a high schooler, they'll read it and go like this: "What's this? What are you talking? What mystical?" I learned that in high school, and it's wrong. No, they're looking at it and it's not correct. So I say, if he would be here today, he'd tell you, "I tried my best. That's what I had to work with. I tried my best." But it certainly wasn't meant to be looked at as magical. But so therefore, when you don't know what it is and you don't understand it, it has mystery. They go, "Oh, it's from another olam." He would tell you, "Well, nothing's from another olam. I'm trying to deal with the thing, trying to prove God's existence," and so on and so forth.
Also, because the specialists who can tell you what it is,
Yeah.
quote unquote, so they can start playing with you.
Yeah.
Right.
So now, when you take Vayikra, and the Navi comes along and puts it all out there. You cut it, you chop its head off, you put the thing, you take the blood, and there's manure on the floor. To take the manure and think of all of that kind of stuff. And this, you got to cover up the smell and the thing, and you feel like you're in a slaughterhouse, right? Which you are, which you most assuredly are. And the priests in chapter 12 of Melachim Bet treat it like a slaughterhouse, because if you remember, your ash comes and says, "What are you doing? The place is a krabe. It's a Bet HaMikdash." And they go, "Who cares?" They check in line, they're getting their money, and they couldn't care less about it. They couldn't care less. They treat it like a slaughterhouse. Well, they were a bunch of lowlifes. But the point being that how I look at the objectives. That's how I look at what it does on the surface level. And it worked. And it worked because people fell out of this. Like I say, no one's given up his car for. I carried the book by mistake. Yeah.
Well,
So I should give you my car
Give me a cow.
in order. I should give my cow is a big thing.
Yeah.
Very big. No, very big. Cow is a major. You have to think that when you give up a cow, that's a major part of your income. Big, big.
2-cow garage.
2-cow garage. So now you do that. But there's something else that I always said about the text. The text has a much deeper level to it. And I always looked at it, if you'll open up and turn to Vayikra, I'll read to you. This is because I had Claude, this right here. I had it say it. So, if you don't mind, I'll read it to you.
Yeah.
Right. This working session is great. This working session documents a significant breakthrough in the interpretation of the book of Vayikra, presenting a new thesis it is new. It's revolutionary. Nobody says it. That reframes the sacrificial laws as a sophisticated prophetic allegory for internal spiritual purification and the establishment of a new covenant. Speaker one, I didn't tell it was me, that's me, presents compelling numerical and structural evidence from the text, which is then collaboratively analyzed and validated by the group, leading to a discussion on the profound implications of this discovery and the strategy for its future documentation and publication. Context and foundational analysis. To ground the new findings, Speaker One began the session by reviewing his previous analytical work on the Book of Vayikra from 2012 and 13. He demonstrated his long-standing methodology, which involves meticulous structural analysis, word counting, identification, repeating phrases, and chiastic structures to uncover deep patterns in the text. Now, I read that, and now I want to switch to this. The monologue presents a comprehensive theological framework. That is the second stage of what I presented. This is the first stage. I was reading it and realized I'm reading the wrong one to you. The monologue presents a comprehensive theological framework.
What monologue?
Oh, this one.
Yeah. Reinterpreting the sacrificial laws in Vayikra as a sophisticated prophetic text. The speaker argues that beneath a surface level description of animal offerings designed to demystify what I just spoke to you about and phase out primitive ritual lies a detailed allegorical, you're listening now, a detailed allegorical guide for personal and spiritual purification, with the structure being the cherry on top of the cake, so to speak. The surface level function, demystifying and obsolescing ritual sacrifice, I just told you, so I'm skipping it. There's voluntary offerings, I told you about it, and mandatory ones, etc. He argues that it makes sacrifice highly unappealing, the idea of giving up valuable animal, etc., etc., etc. The prophetic allegory, sacrifice as a metaphor for internal purification. This is important. My voice is going.
Which one? Where are you? This section reveals the core thesis. The sacrificial laws are a profound allegory
Order.
for the human
Drop.
process of introspection and spiritual cleansing. The speaker argues that beneath the surface level instructions lies a detailed guide for personal transformation. The explicit physical actions described in Vayikra are presented as metaphors for an arduous internal journey. Laying on of hands represents contemplation and taking responsibility for one's actions.
Leg on hands. When you put your hand on an animal, you're putting your hand on your own head. And you know how you do with Shema? You have a custom with Shema to go like this. Why do you have a custom? Not like this.
So if you concentrate.
People go with all the goofy. It's supposed to be going like this. So you can concentrate. So concentrate for 10 seconds on Hashem is Ehad, etc. Go.
Slaughtering and flaying symbolizes
Flaying. You have to flay the animal, strip it of everything, and now you end up with a bunch of raw organs, right? Yeah.
exposing one's symbolizes chopping yourself up and exposing one's innermost thoughts, desires, and flaws.
Flaying is flaying your internally to be flayed. Go.
Washing the innards corresponds.
You have to wash them, right? You all know if you look, it has been a kayon kapai, right? Achri Ksikitiv Levavi. Remember, open to Mizmor 73. No, better yet, open up to Tehillim Mizmor 50 first. Yeah. In Tehillim 50, you know that we've learned together how 50 is completely, I'll remind you with these words. Do you really think I eat bull meat? Do you really think I drink goat's blood? Are you serious? I need you to feed me, right? The sarcastic thing. And then he tells the Rasha what he tells him, right? He tells the good guys, you got it wrong. He tells the bad guys, right, etc. In the 51st is what he explains. You should all remember this. I'm looking at all the faces looking in the book. I don't see any recognition on their part. Getting depressed.
Rookie.
Right. Because we learned this together. Look at verse. Look at verse. Verse 4. Herib kabeseni me'avuni. Wash me. See the word kabeseni me'avuni umehatati tahareni, and purify me from my sin. Ki feshai ani yada, because I know my sins.
Chapter 4.
51.
51:4. Oh,
I said, I looked at your
Yeah.
faces and say you don't remember.
I said 50.
50 is where he says sacrifices out. 51, I just said it a second ago. Yeah. I said 51 is where he tells you what real teshuvah is, not those silly things in there, right? This is what teshuvah is, where he says, wash me from my sins, purify me from my avonot, right? Mehata'ai. In verse 5, because I know my transgressions, right? You see the word tamid? You know what's in front of me all the time? My sins are in front of me, right? My sins are in front of me all the time. I recognize it. I recognize my shortcomings. I sinned to you. I did that which was bad in your eyes. Stop. I'm skipping. Now watch. Who has English? Somebody has. Hyssop. You know what hyssop is, by the way? Zatar. Yeah. Ve'etad. And I'll become purified? Pure. Techabeseni, cleanse, wash me, is from the word to wash, right? Umishelig elbin, and I'll become whiter than snow. And then the center words of this Mizmor are Leib Tahor in verse 12. Leib Tahor Beral Elohim, V'ruach Nachon Hadesh B'Kirbi. A pure heart create, from the word Berah, right, in me, God, and a proper spirit make Hadesh, right, like renew, make new, B'Kirbi, inside me. You notice the word B'Kirbi is using the word like korban. You know, a korban means to bring near, right? right? It means to bring this, right? Yakrib means yakrib korbano. When you say yakrib, right? Tekrib, you bring near, bring close. Your bring near in English because korbano. Okay, it's a noun meaning sacrifice, but the word in Hebrew in takrib korbancha. It's the kerib and the kerib, right? So he goes over hadesh bekirbi in my insides, right? He's using that word. Etc., etc., etc. And then in verse 18, "Ki lo tahvod zebah ve'etena, Olah lo terse," like Yirmiyah says, you're not interested in Olah. You don't want a zebah. What is it? What did Yirmiyah? We read the Haftarah last week. The Syrians is the only one who keep reading the Haftarah, which is such an important Haftarah, chapter 7. You all know it. Olotechem sefu al zevhayechem vechu basar. Take your olot, Ezra, add them to your zebah sacrifices, and eat meat. Take the whole thing. It's like saying it like this. Add that, all that to
You're
it.
not allowed to eat it.
Eat it, right? Eat it. Who cares, right?
Cheeseburger.
Zibhei Elohim, yeah. Zibhei Elohim ruach nishbara. You know what the sacrifices they're all that you make to God are? A ruach nishbara, a broken spirit. Lev nishbar v'nekeh, a broken heart. An individual who's brokenhearted for what he's done, he's so sick.
Someone's in.
What's the matter?
Okay.
You have good ears. What did you think you heard?
It was phone.
Intercom.
Oh, maybe downstairs to the housekeeper. Yeah. Zebei Elohim ruach nishbara lev nishbar v'netei Elohim lo tibzeh. That you would never reject. You see, he's telling you that's when you have a contrition and you're brokenhearted. Ike, it's the best way if you're wondering what it means brokenhearted. The guy who was an alcoholic, no, a gambler. His family has no food. He's broken them. They don't have a house anymore. The mortgage is gone. Now the banks are, he's the contrition. He realized, look what I did. Look what I did because I want to do my escape. Or maybe it was a sexual affair, and now the whole family is broken, and the kids are suffering, or whatever the thing that he did was. He stole money, right? In business, he was dishonest, or he became a drug addict, or now he's an alcoholic, and or he abused. He's an abuser. What? Is a million things. It can go on and on and on. I'm just saying so you understand what it means that when you see someone who's led in his spot of it care, right?
Heartfelt.
Huh?
That's what it means. Heartfelt.
That's right. That's right. He's brokenhearted. His spirit is crushed. Yesterday, Linda was telling somebody because I told them when she was talking to her therapy in the early days, I used to drop her off at a church, and there's the midrash, in the church to have a place attached to it, and she would go in there, and she had to go to Alcoholics Anonymous
A
meeting.
lot of the churches have.
Yeah. So when she went into the meeting, she was devastated. You see a guy get up, and he's an older guy, and he says, "My grandchildren don't talk to me. And then he goes, he has no life. And he recognizes it, or someone gets up and says, I'm an alcoholic. The last time I had alcohol was 15 years ago or 10 years ago. That's how they talk.
Yeah.
And then he heard a young person gets up, a young woman, young, nice, everything nice. And then you hear the story. She says, you walk. I remember she come in the car, she'd be shook up from what you're exposed to. Just saying that because it was just this past week she said it. So you see them, they're brokenhearted, they're crushed. They recognize what it's caused for themselves personally and for the people around them and so on and so forth, right? Just to say it as a side point. So that's 51, which is a counterpart to 50's total wipeout of sacrifices. Coming back, Morris, you could read.
Washing the innards corresponds to the internal cleansing of the self, a concept echoed in Psalm 51's plea to be washed from iniquity.
You got that? That's what it means, right? Listen carefully. You all know this, so I'm saying it now and early. We don't have a Kior and Kano in the first iteration of the Mishkan. We only get it in a later iteration. What is that? The sink and the sink made from the mirrors of the Nashim, Sovot, Petah, or Moed. The ones Hofni and Pinhas were taken advantage. It's got to be made from those mirrors, right? You look in the sink and you see yourself in the sink. What is the law about Netilat Yadayim before you go into the Kodesh for the Kohanim? If you don't do it, you die. So it goes like this. Netilat Yadayim, you die if you don't do it. Okay. I didn't make Netilat Yadayim. The law is if you don't make it, you die. Okay, what does that mean? What is it really talking about? It's really talking about you corrupt priests. If you don't look into that mirror and you don't take very seriously what you have to do and who you are, you know what the ramifications of that is? Death. Because you killed people. Because as Yirmiyah says, he's from the Kohanim and are taught, but he says his co-priests, they have blood on their hands. They're not just guys who took a wrong path, because it leads to death. People die from that. People suffer from that. It's the ramifications are just not, oh, it wasn't so good. No. It leads to the most horrific results when the religious leaders are corrupt. Horrific, he says. And it's correct, by the way. Keep going, sorry.
Burning on the altar represents the fiery process of burning out negative behaviors and undergoing a complete internal metamorphosis.
That's what burning it out means. You're listening how I look at yeah?
This interpretation reframes the entire sacrificial system. It is not about appeasing a deity with an animal, but about undertaking a demanding process of self-reckoning. True behavioral change requires going through an internal furnace to mature and deal with one's guilt and failings. This difficult path of self-improvement, not an easy 3 Hail Marys, is what truly...
I meant it when I said it. It's 3 Hail Marys. Coming to the priest, I killed someone. Okay, say 8 Hail Marys. He's stupid. This is just a stupid concept, yeah.
Is what is truly pleasant to God. The metaphor could only work in a society where physical sacrifice was a known practice, allowing the text to redeem the concept and redirect it toward a higher internal purpose.
Stop. When it says, when you finish doing the process, it's re'ah nihoah. You know what it's telling you? The word is nihoah, Noah. V'Noah matzahen b'nei Adonai. That word is re'ah. You know why it's nihoah? Because God sees you changed. And God sees you went through the internal process. God's no, more than that. You've changed yourself.
And that brings you to a better position.
That brings God to favoring you. Oh, that's what I'm looking for in you. Forget about the ramifications. When it says Re'ah Nihoah to God, not to him, it's Re'ah Nihoah to God. It says it's pleasing to God. Yeah, it is pleasing to God. V'Noach matzahen b'nei Adonai. It's God. That's what's pleasing to God, right? He saves the planet in the opening of Torah. Doesn't he save the planet because of that? The planet from the apocalypse.
He
What?
smells the Re'ah Nihoah.
That's right. And that's what it is. The what?
That was after that.
Yeah, that's after. Yes. But that's, of course, coming back to that point.
Yeah.
That's coming back to that point.
Man is not like they were before. They're going to be after.
So now I want to prove to you that what I'm saying is not just a nice opinion and my midrash, who nobody ever says this. Nobody says this, first of all, but I'm going to prove it to you. Let's see if you can read a little bit more.
But the fact that Rambam has his.
He's accept that Rambam is right about everything.
Very much in the lines of the way you're talking.
If the Rambam heard what I wrote over here, you know what he'd do?
It's the next step.
He would give me 1,000 gold stars. And he'd say, unknown. He'd say, revolutionary. He'd say, amazing. And he'd be smiling
It's
away.
not just concessionary.
Wait,
Right.
Morris, before you
It's
start,
symbolic.
That's correct.
Right.
So
He was saying that also.
there's a deeper level.
Right.
Not only is the text destroyed, the writer is a priest, who was writing the sacrificial procedures in a way where it's self-destructive. You know, a Mission Impossible, after you listen to this, it goes, this is written in such a way as to dissolve because I told you no one is interested anymore. You knocked out
But that was
90, just by writing it, you knocked out 90 something percent of the people,
But-
just by putting
But
it
the
there.
way you're presenting korbanot is so deep and meaningful.
The secondary level, the
Yeah.
one that absolutely people never saw. The surface one, get rid of it.
Right.
It worked. It worked. It didn't fail. It worked. Sacrifice became, yeah, it disappeared. Nobody's interested in it. Well, I say you took away all the mystery. You took away all of the black magic. The magical mystery tour is gone. It's not going to do anything for me. Then you told them it only works for this. It doesn't work. Right now, I'm really out of the thing. I'm not interested.
Makes a mockery out of it. The Shlomo story makes a mockery out of it.
Yes. So now, what do we do with it? Many things do, right? Many places. So now, what does it do? Oh, it has a thing. What it's really doing is much more.
Yeah, no, but
But I want to show you how it's doing a lot more, and the way that I want to show you. Go ahead.
The reading of it for the last 1,000 years.
2,500 years.
Need to resonate in some way that it effectuates something within you.
Who knows? Well, after I tell it to you, maybe you'll say yes. Let's see.
Well, the
Let's-
fact that we don't do actual korbanot now, when we read it, it has to take it to a different level.
Nobody ever.
As a guidebook.
Nobody understands it that way that I just said. Nobody takes it that way. Nobody. Go read every commentary for the last 2,000 years. Sorry, nobody says this, but I'm going to prove it to you. Give me a minute. It's already 8:25. We stop in 25 minutes from now. We have no less 20 minutes. Let me show you where it says it. The terms that repeat, I'm going to do this fast now. And if you can't follow it and you have a lot of questions, then you can interrupt me. But I want to do it in such a way as to quickly give you a sense of how it works. Let's do it with let's go, for example, to verse. Let's go to verse. Let's go to verse 5. Vayikra 1:5. ושחט את בן הבקר לפני אדוני, והקריבו בני אהרון הכהנים את הדם, the blood, וזרקו את הדם, they throw the blood on the mizbeach, all around, sabib, asher petach oil moed. You see that? Now, you know what I say that means? In the 79th Mizmor, do you remember the destruction of Jerusalem comes around? You all remember that in 79? Hello? You've learned it with me numerous times. You should all remember that that's where he turns and he says the following words. In 79:3. Shafechu damam kamayim sibibot Yerushalayim ve'en kober. You see the word shafechu? They pour like water around Sabib, Yerushalayim, and there's none to bury. The water is pouring in the streets, in other words, right? Hold on to that, right? Hold on to that. Shevhu kamayim, their blood, of course. They
like water.
that's like water. Yeah, I said water. I'm sorry. I meant shevhu damam, like water. Yeah. So that's. I want to give you very fast. You'll ask me questions when I finish, and then it says. They throw the dam around. You see how Mizbeach Sabib, it's blood and Sabib. Now he breaks it down into its parts. Right? Is that what it says, Lee? He flays it. Listen what they do. They do ish al hamizbeach ve'arichu etzim al ish. And they lay out wood on the fire. The word ve'arichu becomes very critical. Because what were the priests? Arachim guys. Do you remember the fifth Mizmor? Ve'ata enosh ke'erki. he makes the play on that. You're like me, you're equal to me, his friends that all became a bunch of lowlifes that he grew up with. Or at the end of Vayikra in chapter 27, it's all about arachim. They're always doing arachim, which over there means they're doing the estimates. How much is this worth? How much is that worth? A guy could come to them and offer them animals, and he goes, "These animals are worth 100,000. You know what they are? They're worth $50. They're all a bunch of dead nothing junks." But of course, if he does it and he gets away with it, what happens, Ezra? The guy donated 10 grand. He lets them get away with giving $500 worth of animals, 10 grand, because you made them all price bulls and they're big junk. And then, of course, what does the priest end up with? A cut, right?
Mhm.
I'll give you $1,000 if you get me out of having to give the 10 grand. That's right. So now, listen carefully. Now watch the next word. וערכו בני אהרון הכהנים את התחים ואת הראש ואת הפר על העצים אשר על האש אשר על המזבח. That's very wordy. On the wood that's on the fire that's on the altar. Now, Kirbo, his insides, Ukraav, this is you, the individual. You know what a Kraav is a play on? Your things in you. Yerhatz b'mayim, you wash them in water. You're laying out all of your things that you did, right? The etzim or all you're taking counsel with yourself. Every word has a dual meaning. You take counsel with yourself, and you take it all and you lay it out in all its hard facts. And then you look at all the negative aspects of your personality, and then you wash it, and then you know what you do with it? The kid are going to call him, and then the whole thing goes up in fire. You completely, listen carefully, you have to burn it out of your system. It's like when he says, I took you out of the Kur HaBerzel in Egypt, you know, the fiery furnace. Those words, of course, don't mean a fiery furnace. They mean, I took you through the process, which was like going through, a Kur HaBerzel means it's a metaphor for purifying you. I took you out, but you know what kind of it was hot. It was fiery, because when a person really works on themselves and really does it, if you're really serious about it, it's not something la la la. Talk to an individual who's gone through the process. He'll tell you, boy, that was Gehenna. That was fire. That was difficult. That was trying. I went through the real reform. I'm talking about the person who did real reform and is now a new individual. You've come out now and you've totally reformed. It's a difficult, hard process. You tell a guy who was 100 pounds overweight, lose weight. People used to come up to me. I lost 100 pounds when I was 40 years old, 42, whatever. So they come to me, they tell me, it's 41. So they tell me, they come to me through the years. I never gained the weight back. I gained weight back, but I never became like that again. So they go, how'd you do it? So I go, I don't eat. That's how I did it. You know, because how'd you do it? Like, what was your shtick? I spent the last 40 years not eating food like like everybody else does, right? I told you that story when I went to the surgeon, and he tells me, you know, now you don't have a stomach, you can't eat certain things. So he goes, you know, he goes, sugar. I go, I haven't had sugar in 40 years because it was 7 years ago. So he goes, oh. He says, well, you can't have fat. I said, I haven't had fat in 40 years. I don't eat any things with fat in it. He goes, yeah, but you can't have dairy. I said, I haven't had dairy for 40 years. He goes, you can't have pizza, you can't have any, you know, pizza, dairy, you can't have any dairy. I said, I haven't had dairy. So then he goes, some of them, I go, I haven't eaten meat in 40 years, right? So
What do you eat?
he looks at me and then he goes, this, but you can't have fried foods. I said, I haven't tasted fried foods in 40 years. He took his pencil and he went like this. He says, you're not going to have a problem. He was like, you're not going to have any problems with this, because the average guy, you tell him that, he goes, they're crazy, right? I says, so when people ask me, how is it? It's hard work. If it isn't hard work, you're not doing it, because of course it's you want to eat all the time, right? So it is a hard process, and no one wants to. The GLP thing is very famous because that gets rid of the problem. For some people, it's good because some people really, really can't lose weight. Really, really, it's a real problem. Okay, okay. But the real process of reform is hard, just like it is for anybody who has any kind of thing that he has to get over. That said, when he does that and it goes up in fire, all of this, I broke off on the words, "V'hiktir hakohenet hakol hamizbeha." Everything goes up to in smoke, right? It's all burnt up. You know what that is? Ishe reah nihoach ladonai. That's what's pleasing to God. Now, I have to continue. Please focus. Don't lose me now. So now, I want you to turn to chapter 2, verse 7. There's a repeating set of refrains that come up. No, I gave you the wrong one. Chapter 3, verse 6, let's say. V'im min hatzon, right? Because there's always bakar and so and minha, right? And so on and so on and so on. V'im min hatzon korbanot l'zerach shelamim ladonai zachar nekeba tamim yakiribena. You should come by with purity, yeah, with true sincerity, with temimut. In kesev hu makrib et korbanot. He brings it before God. Here we go. This is going to happen again and again and again and again and again. That's himself, you and me. I showed you that. Now, he removes it. What does he remove? The halev, the fat that covers the kerev, the insides. Ve'et kol halev, and all of the halev, asher ala kerev, that's on the insides. Ve'et shtei hakelayot. You know what the kelayot is? The center emotions, right? The kelayot. Ve'et halev al asher, and the halev that's on them, right? That's on the kesalim. You know what kesalim are? You ever hear of Ishbar, Uchsil, Luyabin as well? Kesalim are the foolishness, all the foolish acts. The et yoteret halakabed. Now that's the yoteret is the excess part on top of the liver, but the words have a dual entendre. The excessive gava, the excessive kabod, right? Al hakelayot yesirena. All of that has to be removed. The fat on top of that, the halev on top of that, the fat on top of that, and then you know you do it all of it. You burn it up in smoke. Isher ladonai. Stop. Hold your place and go now to listen carefully. You are at the opening of book 3 of the Torah, and you're dealing with Kohanim and the sacrificial procedure. Correct? Turn to the opening of book 3 of Tehillim, which, as you know, starts at 73. You all, of course, remember that. And you all know that that's the Asaf Mizmorim, which the first one came up in chapter 50, in Mizmor 50 of book 2. We just read it together, and I showed you 51. That came off of 42 to 49, which was the opening of book 2. 49 is the last of the Korach Mizmorim. You've heard this. You guys have heard it 100 times. 42 to 49. 49 turns to 50 to the one is the monarchy, and the 50 is the first, and only one in the book. Now you get 11 more in a row. 73 opens up, and we've learned this together. And if you all forgot it, in the next session that we have, we'll go through it in detail. He says, Va'ani, God is good to Israel, Elohim lebarei lebab. Va'ani, and as for me, you get this? Listen to it. And va'ani, and as for me, kimat natayu raglai kain shufichu ashurai. So there's that word shofech. It's a strange word for saying that his feet almost fell out from under him. Stop. If you remember, when I learned 73 with you, which you all forgot, every single word in here is a priestly word. Do I mention that in here? And the scholars, I give them the dig. I say in the last 2,000 years, nobody has ever stated, and certainly the modern scholars, because aren't they big on saying this is all X language?
P,
Huh?
P.
P is priestly. I say every word in here is a priestly term. Every word. And I go through every verse in volume 2. I go through every single, but you've learned it with me. You're not off the hook. I go through and I show pasuk by pasuk how it's a priestly term, so blatant that when you see it, right? And remember, this is like a PhD thesis, 73 chapter. I don't leave a stone unturned. Did you get that, guys? Now I want to go through it fast so you get an idea. There's the word shafech, they're pourers of blood. Kikineti b'holalim. He always refers to the holalim as the corrupt priests because they don't say halil, they're holil. They praise themselves. Shalom Rishaim Ireh. He calls the holalim and the Rishaim the same word. You know, they're the Rishaim. Everybody thinks this is talking about Adolf Hitler. He's talking about his co-priests who are running the place. Ki'er harsubot lemotam ubari ulam. I say ulam, that's the mikdash, that's the center part of the temple. All of a sudden now, you know how it refers that they're healthy in their insides over here. Look at me, in their stomachs, the ulam. He calls it the ulam, right? Inside. Isn't that a strange word? When all the other times the ulam is referring to the temple's centifolia, you know, right? Ba'amal enosh enemo, im adam lo yinuga'u. Oh, negaim. They don't have negaim, right? They're dealing with negaim all day long, right? They're priests. Lachen, now watch the next verse. Anakatmo ga'ava. You know what they are? Sheet. Yaatov, sheet Hamas Lamo. They're wrapped in the in Ga'ava and the violence that results from it. They're a bunch of their necks is sticking up, right? And Ga'ava is their core of what they are. Now watch. He Yatsa Mehelev Inemu. Their eyes are popping out from Helev. So all the commentators go like this. It's a strange way to say it's fat, you know, or they say it's very healthy. But he says their eyes are popping out from Halev. When you see that imagery, remember you're at the beginning of 3. Remember, Halev is going to be mentioned 8 million times in the sacrificial process. Get rid of the Halev, get rid of the Halev that's on this, the Halev that's on that, the Halev that's on that, and Ga'ava, Yoteret Mina Kebed. You just now, and Shufechu, they pour the blood. You have Shufechu, you have the Halev, but you know how you know the Halev word is being used purposely as priestly? Because when you say his eyes are popping out from Halev, it's weird. Yes, you can go, it's priestly, poetic, but he's got a good imagination, right? His eyes are popping out from fat, right? Now, Avru Meskiot Lebab. What a Meskiot? The Ibn Mesquite. It describes in Yeherskel how they go and they bow down in the Ibn Mesquite in the temple. The Ibn Mesquite is the one that is prohibited at the end of the Midbar, right? You can't bring or Vayikra. You can't bring Vayikra. You can't bring Ibn Mesquite. You know it's prohibited. I'm not going into it now. The Ibn Mesquite, of course, is Avodah Zarah. And over here, he says that, how does he use the word? Because they wrote drawings on it. So when he says they surpass the imagination of the heart, he uses the word mesquite, right? So that's the mesquite. Yamiku vidaberu bira oshek mimarom yedaberu. They speak from on high. Who speaks from Marom? Who talks to the people from Marom? The rabbis, right? The Kohanim. They spoke to the. Now watch this. Shatu bashamayim pihim. They place in heaven their mouth. Ulshunam telach ba'aretz. And their tongues have run of the earth. That means like this. They say they're speaking for God. Therefore, they have control. Their tongues they have run of the land. They're so you have over here Marom and Shatu bashamayim pihim. Of course, you're talking about a priest, right? Then Yashib Amor Helom. What's Helom mean, Ike? Where do you know the word Helom? Al Tikrab Halom. He tells them, Halom, to the holy place. So they bring them to the temple, to Halom, right? Only over here they go, he just means here. No. Of course, there's a double entendre. And they squeeze them full of water when they're full of water. Of course, is when they get the people at the temple, they squeeze them for everything they are. What does it say in the first chapters that you didn't see yet? What do you do with the bird? They're squeezers. They break its neck.
Right.
They break it's the most, the bird is the most vulnerable of all creatures. How do you think of a bird? A bird can't do anything. It's a bird. It's a dove, whatever it may be, right? And you take it and you break its neck and you squeeze. The law is just squeeze it. He's talking about how they took people vulnerable, who are when they come to the temple to people. By the way, even though they're offering sacrifices, they think they're serving God, right? Right? That's what they know. They don't know any better. And then you squeeze them, they take money from them, right? Because they come to the temple all giving and vulnerable, and then they take every penny, they squeeze them for everything they've got. So they're people who are yimatsu people. And then they say, God doesn't know what we're doing. The next words, stop. I'm not going to read the rest of it to show you how he takes every word in there and differs himself. I want you to go only Lee, and I want you to look at the 27th verse. And I want you to read it in Hebrew and in English.
Of 74.
Of 73.
73.
Next page.
Did I say 27th? The 27th verse. I was right.
כי הנה וחלקך יעבדו,
Yovedu.
יאבדו, השמעת כל זונה ממך.
Go ahead.
Those who keep far from you, meaning capital Y, perish. You annihilate all those who are untrue to you.
Right. Zoneh means, of course, like zenut from you. Now listen carefully.
Do it again.
I show in those who keep far from you will be destroyed. Hitzmata, you cut off kol zoneh mimeka, all those who are zoneh from you. Good?
Zoneh.
It's like a zenut, like a zoneh.
Okay.
Right? You're unfair to say, remember you were like a zer. Now listen carefully. I show in my book, in volume 2, we have it inside, but it's late and we don't have time. And I want you to get all of this point before we end tonight. We're going to go a few minutes. Can you go a few minutes late? You good, everybody? Yeah. Listen carefully. I show how this is more. He says in the middle of the word, at the middle of the word, he writes, he says the famous words. He says, Im amarti asapirach emo, hine dor banecha bagati. If I would have said all of this as who I'm really talking about, I would have been a traitor. Listen, the word Kohen is written all over this Mizmor. And I show at the end, look at the words Kihinere Hekecha. It's Kohanecha. You see it?
Cool.
The Chaf and the He and the Nun and the He and the Chaf. Now go to the end of the Mizmor, backwards. The end of the Pasuk. Mimeka. Kohanecha. Do you see it?
Yeah.
The Chaf of Mimeka. The He of Zoneh. The Nun of Zoneh. And the Chaf of Kol. Kohanecha. Backwards and forwards. You know what I write in the book? Try and find this in the 20,000 verses in Tanakh again. At the Pasuk, but now watch the next words. Va'ani. Remember, Lee, at the beginning you said Va'ani, Kemat Natayu Raglu Lai, the opening words of the Mizmor. Does anybody remember? As for me, I almost tripped. The Pasuk 2, do you remember? Remember when he says, as for me, I almost tripped because I was jealous of these people, right?
Mhm.
With me? Look what he says at the end of the Mizmor, the opening words. Va'ani, and as for me, kirbat Elohim li tov. And as for me, you see the word kirbat?
Being close.
Being close. You know what korban is good for me? Kirbat Elohim li tov. Shati b'mayim asi l'saper kol milchotecha. That's where I am. Now listen carefully. I want you to now go, and I want you to read these words. Let me find it for you quick because it's really nice. Let me see if I find it. Oh yeah, go to verse 21 anyway. Verse 22. Va'ani, and as for me, bad v'lo ida, behemot hayiti imach. I was a behemah with you. This is where he actually refers to himself as the behem. You get it? The animal. He's saying it explicitly in the Mizmor. That's what I was, right? Now watch the next words. Va'ani, and as for me, tamid imach. I'm always with you. Hello, tamid, the korban tamid. It's full of words that are always on the secondary level, but I show it in, as Joey Angel says, scholars are finished after this because it's so thorough, the backup work on it, showing that it's all priestly terms. But you find the korban tamid in here. He says, I'm tamid. You know what I'm tamid? With you. That's what I'm tamid. Not I bring the sacrifice every day. It has to be on me. You hold my right hand. Stop. So now let me see if, even though this needs another 2 hours, but listen to me carefully. You opened up book 3 of the Torah on the whole sacrificial program about the Kohanim. And of course, Vayikra is Torah Kohanim. So you open it, that's what you do. What does he do at the opening of Tehillim? Same exact thing. Exactly. The opening and the opening is the same opening. Only over there, on the secondary level, he, on the surface level, is getting rid of it. Because the process, it destroys itself. It's self-destructive, correct? On the deeper level, what is he talking about? Helev, Yasam Helev, Ga'ava, Yotenet el HaKaved. Burning. He talks about every single term. And he talks about himself, and he talks about the priests and their corruption, but you don't know. You think he's talking about the mafia. You know, when you read this, everybody thinks, oh, this is the bad people in the world. No one thinks it's specifically directed, but of course, it's specifically directed at the religious leadership of the nation, which brought the nation to destruction. Why does he put them at the beginning and not the monarchy and have them in book 2? Why?
Because people rely on them for.
Because the religious guys are the ones that hold the whole thing together.
I think they're the guys.
If the monarchy's bad, they could have stood up and told them, you can't get away with that. The religious leadership, if they hold firm, they tell them, we're not buying that, right? And if they put their foot down, but they weren't, not only weren't interested in putting their foot down, they did what the kings did for themselves. They walked around with the robes, they walked around with the chains, they walked around with the hats, they walked around with they're holy, they put forth all kinds of fake things, they conned the people, they had control, right? They put their mouths in heaven, they're speaking in the name of God. The guy goes, what do you want? He's the rabbi, and so on and so forth. And now I show, which I can't show more right now tonight, that every single word that's used in the opening in Vayikra and where its objectives are the same objectives with the same end result. Yeah, I'm not doing that right now. I'm giving you the Rashi Tivot, you know, the orientation on it. But it works perfectly. It doesn't work cute that I have a cute midrash on this. When I finish with you on it, as Joey Angel says, it's done. It's incontrovertible, the evidence. But as Joey in recent days said, I'm so happy about it. He goes, you have 10 chapters in volume 2, as the chapters in volume 1, 8. He says, I said, you know, this one's like a PhD, I tell him. He goes, each one is a PhD. Now, he doesn't speak lightly. Why am I saying this to you? Because I want to make it clear to you that nothing I'm telling you about this now is my cute midrash that I've come up with from out of the clear blue sky. The evidence behind this, which I gave you some of it to taste just now, it's thorough. and it's fully backed up. And in the book, I don't leave a stone unturned, proving that that's what's going on. And then structurally, you got all that. I'm gonna rush now. I don't care if you go like this and say,
I'm absorbing.
"Oh, okay."
I didn't care because it's a lot. Okay.
A lot. You can't. It's orientation class. Now I want to tell you what I did at the end of this. Could you read one paragraph that's similar to what I said, so they hear it straight now?
Textual proof, intertextual and structural evidence for Psalms.
Yeah, good. Read it quick.
Here, the speaker provides the textual foundation for his allegorical reading by drawing deep connections between Vayikra and the Psalms, particularly Psalms 50, 51, and 73. He argues that these texts use the same specialized priestly vocabulary found in Vayikra to critique a corrupt priesthood and redefine the very nature of worship. Psalm 73, which opens the priestly third book of Psalms, is central to this argument. The speaker demonstrates that it is saturated with priestly terms like chelev and arachin, which scholars have largely overlooked. The psalm uses this vocabulary to condemn corrupt leaders who exploit the people. Its chiastic structure culminates in the powerful declaration, Va'ani kirbat Elohim li tov. But as for me, closeness to God is my good. The speaker interprets this as the ultimate redefinition of korban, shifting its meaning from a physical act to a state of being near God. Furthermore, the phrase Va'ani tamid imach, I am always with you, is connected to the korban tamid, the daily offering, transforming a ritual into a statement of constant spiritual connection. This intertextual analysis, which requires a PhD level understanding of each psalm and its placement, reveals a coherent prophetic message across different books of the Bible, where the true offering is contrition, a broken heart, and an intimate relationship with God, not the slaughter of animals. The numerical covenant structural encoding of the
On Friday, after this has been going on for a month, all these forward movement things from Mishpatim. I went like this. I was alone Friday in the office, no one to talk to. I had a session with Joey Angel at 4:00 before Shabbat, 4 or 5, whatever. And I say, I looked at this. The last time I looked at it at length in detail because I don't have anything structural, right? 2012 and 13, I worked on it, right? 13 years ago. Didn't come up with anything. But I have these sheets which represent them, and they did show a lot of stuff because I have the Olah, Mincha, and Shilamim here, each one, and I look at the sort of the schematic diagram of these laws, right? Those are the three. So remember, those are three voluntary. Olah, the Hatat and Hashem are for Shogeg. It's different, right? So I say to myself, let me look up in these 7 chapters, which are a clear unit, because after that it ends. It clearly ends. The eighth chapter starts a new thing. If you want to go look at the first verse of the 8th chapter, yes, it's the 8-9 unit when it's going to lead up to Shemini, correct?
Yeah.
Clear. Everybody knows that. No, the ancient, modern, it's Peshut. The 7 are a unit. So I say, let me see how many times Olah, Mincha, Shilamim, Hatat, and Hashem occur. Good? 130 times.
The words, those
Those words occur
total.
a total of 130 times. So I go, whoa. I go like this.
Chapters you're doing?
Yes. Now wait. I go, but wait a minute. Clearly, Olam and Han Shilamim are a subunit in there. Clearly, because those are the voluntary ones. The other ones are Hatat and Hashem. And it's the text that speaks like that.
Okay.
They're a unit.
So
They're treated as a unit. They come up 77 times. You ready? So I said, you know what this is about? About what Korban really is about. Because where's the covenant? They're the old numbers. You know my work in Bimidbar was unbelievable. Where I show it's all 7. You remember the chapter 26 and 27 of Bimidbar, where I show how all the sacrificial procedures from Pinchas are all based on 7, and the grand totals of all the animals are 777 animals. 777. Everything. That chart it's in the book. It's in volume 1, and I put it in numerical symbolism in the Torah. In the Torah. because it's outstanding. There's the cats. You hear them? It sounds like babies crying. Yeah. Yeah. At this time of the year, it happens. So now listen carefully. So I said the korban occurs as either the word korban, the noun, or lehekriv, the verb. And it writes it that way. If you want to see the takrib korbancha, you bring forth, it's the same word.
Yes.
Korban means the sacrifice, but it means kofresh bet. It's the thing you brought near. And lahakriv means to bring near, right? As we spoke earlier. So I tell me how many times they occur in the 7 chapters.
Those 2 words.
80. Now you have to understand that when I do the circuits 40 years later, it's 130 words. 130 of all of the sacrificial. It's 77 of them is the subunit. But the word korban, now that's 80, because this is describing what the covenant is.
That's the goal, not the actual physical thing.
This is the covenant. This is what you bring near. What?
Not the physical.
Right. So then I counted up all of the words that follow up from here, after here in chapter 8, and in Shemini, up until right before Vayiplu al Penihem. Remember, he tells them Birkat Kohanim, and what we say means, and then they all fall on their face, and the next words are that they have another year. So I said, tell me how many words from there to there, because 8 and 9 up until there form a unit. At that point, everything was great. Did you get that?
It was done.
It was finished.
Yeah.
Everything's perfect.
We're going forward. Yeah.
So it's just cute. Who knows if it means anything? There were 888 words. Covenant is now put forth. Everything is in a perfect state.
880 words from the beginning to the end of there, or
From the first word of chapter 8 until the word al
After the
Pidim.
7th chapter,
Until
Korban,
right, the next word is Nadav and Avihu bringing the Esh Zarah.
Correct.
The next word.
the 2 chapters of them getting ready to do the thing and perfect something.
8 and 9.
Right. Zeh Davar. And you have to read Zeh Davar Shesivah. When you have to read the word Zeh Davar, you have to read like this. Zeh Davar. This is the thing. Not this is what, and then of course, etc. You have to know where to put the emphasis, like chord to bad chord. Yeah. So it's really, really nice that we were able on Friday at the last minute to put a cherry on top of the cake. And instead of the structural part being first, it was all content, and then the structure overlays it, and who knows what else is going on in the structure. Suffice it to say that we now have the opening of the 3rd book of Tehillim and the closing of the 3rd book of Tehillim being exactly like the opening of Sefer Vayikra, which I just showed you in spades. And what is the end of Vayikra? Bechukotai, the blessing. Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a long time pointed out. Go to the 89th Mizmor of Tehillim. I'll end on this note. The 89th Mizmor is the 17th Mizmor in book 3, as there are 17 of them in book 4. So go to 89 and go to, it's the saddest thing, that Mizmor along with 88 is dark and sad, and the destruction is Himana is the he, and Etana is the he. And go to verse 30, and who could read it?
89.
I see you read 89, 30. It's a very long Mizmor, one of the longest Mizmorim in Tehillim. Good, stop, read the next one. If they leave my Torah, Mishpatai, and they don't go after my Mishpatim, sound familiar? So here's the exact quote. So, of course, the 89th Mizmor, those words are not in there by accident. And the opening of the 3rd book is not by accident. It gives you the, what do you call it?
Framework?
the framework, it closes it opens it like Vayikra opens, and it closes like Vayikra closes. And of course, everything we've shown, everything in between ties in an amazing way. That we can't do that. And this needs a semester. It needs 20 sessions. But I wanted you all to just get. I know we went till 9 o'clock. We were supposed to end 15 minutes ago, but I didn't want you to go without getting the sense of this forward movement, because guys, we really think. I really, really think. I don't say this to you often. This is one of the most exciting and revolutionary breakthroughs in my work, period. It is taking what's an esoteric book that has never been known to know where it's really going, and taking the most esoteric part of it, which everybody says is primitive, and takes it to the highest level of Kedusha that you could imagine. It's good?
Good luck.
Ronnie, I hope you enjoyed, Ron. Can you stop this?
It was great.
Did you hear
It was
me? Just say hello to your father while you're at it also.
Hello.
All right. I hope you enjoyed. I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward.
100%. See you soon. Love
Okay.
you.
Love you. Love you.
All right.
Later.